I am Hercule Poirot.
You were Hercule Poirot.
I am retired from cases.
Ah, yes, another Agatha Christie adaptation, another case for the great Hercule Poirot, and another chance for Kenneth Branagh to completely ruin it. But why? Why does this man, with his fancy moustache and Shakespearean pedigree, insist on taking Christie's greatest detective and making whatever this is? Today we'll look into the mystery of how Kenneth Branagh manages to turn some of the greatest detective stories of all time into overblown, melodramatic Hollywood superhero blockbusters.
I won't apologize. You've ruined my book. Neither living nor proof. I have to rewrite the whole thing.
So long as it does not include my name.
I never want to hear your name again.
Why doesn't Kenneth Branagh make better Poirot movies? Is he stupid? Branagh needs to stop. The Christie estate has to be stopped. Hush, huh?
Yes, it is most sad. The truth is sad.
Yeah, it seems that somehow the loyal fans of David Suchet's and his predecessor's canonical Poirot portrayals are pretty straightforward when it comes to the most recent movie attempts of this famous actor and director with regards to the great Belgian detective.
This is my dear old friend, the esteemed Poirot, who I knew before the esteemed Hercule Poirot. This is
a prostitute.
She is.
I am. Yet is this case really so obvious? To understand why Branagh's Poirot doesn't work, we need to first understand who Poirot really is. The original character, as written by Agatha Christie, is a meticulous, highly intelligent, and often amusingly vain detective. He's not an action hero, he's not haunted by a tragic past, and most importantly, he doesn't have a moustache the size of a small animal.
Mother, you must meet Hercule Poirot.
Why?
He's only the greatest detective alive.
Oh, he exaggerates. No, he's quite correct, actually.
I already elaborated in every tiny detail on how did Dame Agatha Christie come up with her Belgian sleuth. I settled on a Belgian detective. I allowed him slowly to grow into his part. He should have been an inspector, so that he would have a certain knowledge of crime. He would be meticulous, very tidy, I thought to myself as I cleared away a good many untidy odds and ends in my own bedroom. I could see him as a tidy little man, always arranging things like things in pairs, liking things square instead of round. And he should be very brainly. He should have little grey cells of the mind. The phrase she particularly liked and was happy about.
Yes, let's make a little pause to freshen la toilette. And to rest the little grey cells.
You can find all the facts and historical evidence about his Belgian trace, his name, his interconnection with the First World War and even Sherlock Holmes in my dedicated video.
I am the working man, the skilled laborer, the hero of your own economic fairy tales.
For now, I'll just summarize that, yeah, Hercule Poirot, as pictured by Kenneth Branagh, has almost nothing to do with Christie's initial intentions. I read many of your comments to my previous video documentaries about this detective saga. Most of you agree that David Suchet, the definitive Poirot for many, nailed this delicate balance.
Don't you think that human beings tend to reproduce certain patterns, Mr. Poirot? Stereotyped patterns?
Précisément, mademoiselle.
His Poirot is charming, methodical, and most importantly, true to Christie's vision. But Branagh, oh no, he decided Poirot needed to be a Batman. That's what most of you said.
And whatever people say, there is right, there is wrong. There is nothing in between.
Arguably, the best portrayals of Poirot by Suchet and Ustinov also happen to be actors of foreign ancestry. I think that's an important factor that adds to the character that's absent with Branagh. It's also what makes him an interesting foil against Hastings, who is more of a representation of a by-the-book Englishman. It's Poirot's eccentricity, particularities, and cultural differences that make him shine. He gives off a certain kind of nobleness as well. That sort of comes with a highly cultured and perhaps diverse background. Meanwhile, Branagh both looks and acts very squarely British. Not even the extravagant moustache that can distract one from the fact. So, where exactly did Kenneth Branagh make the wrong turn? So far, Branagh have released 3 long films: Murder on the Orient Express in 2017, Death on the Nile in 2022, and the most recent, A Haunting in Venice from 2023. And for all of them, he was criticized for having butchered these adaptations.
Ladies and gentlemen, we must ask, who stands to benefit from the crime?
He turned Poirot into an action hero right from the get-go in his Murder in the Orient Express. The original story is a locked-room mystery filled with tension, logic, and subtle character studies. It is known that Christie came up with the plot rethinking some recent real-life events that shook the world, and United States in particular. I plan to make a long video about it soon, so please subscribe if you don't want to miss it. And now, Branagh's version. Well, like, why is Poirot chasing criminals like he's in a Bond movie? Why is he so tormented? However, I must confess the casting director did a great job with securing the otherwise really interesting and talented actors in the supporting roles. This follows the spirit of the previous on-screen adaptations of this episode, with Albert Finney, for example.
Pardon me, sir. I wonder if you could oblige me with a light.
Certainly.
Thank you. My name is Ratchet. Do I have the pleasure of speaking to Mr. Hercule Poirot?
The pleasure, possibly, Mr. Ratchet. The intention, certainly. You asked me for a light. I offered you one, and you have not used it. One can't deduce that without acute mental exhaustion.
Then came Death on the Nile, where Branagh doubled down on the melodrama. We get a tragic moustache origin story. Yeah, you heard that right. An entire backstory explaining why Poirot has a moustache.
Simple. You'll grow a moustache.
And a whole new line with Poirot's mystery love affair during the war. Again, I covered this plot and its logic and adequacy, or its absence, in a separate video, What Happened to Hercule Poirot's Wife. Find it on my channel after you finish watching this episode. And yes, my favorite, Death on the Nile, is the unbeatable version with Peter Ustinov. It has a superb cast and is faithful to the brilliant plot twists of Dame Agatha.
With me, it's the exercise of the little grey cells. Luck, I leave to the others.
Yes, I'd forgotten your opinions about yourself.
For his own take, Branagh decided to rethink it all to the verge of ridiculousness.
What are you really doing way out here, Mr. Poirot?
Madame.
I wonder if I should give out spoilers here. Perhaps not. So I'll just say that some major supporting characters were cut off, their storylines reversed, and identities reimagined with some daring liberty. Was it made to please the new generation of cinema goers? Did this transgression make the subject more close to their hearts and minds? Well, to be honest, I have found such comments too, so thanks God, at least something.
You accuse me now of murder.
Oh no, he accuses everyone of murder.
It is a problem, I admit.
And just when you thought these adaptations couldn't get any further from the books, we got A Haunting in Venice. Now, don't get me wrong, who doesn't love a good haunting mystery in a beautiful setting of magical Venice with some horror twists? Yet this film takes it a step or a mile too far.
No!
Poirot, let her finish!
No! First, let us meet a secret confederate in the chimney.
In fact, here Branagh takes the plot of Christie's Halloween party, her classic whodunit. I made a video about it featuring Ariadne Oliver. Yet in this new adaptation, we all fly over to Venice and witness how it turns into a full-on supernatural horror ghost story.
No, no god, no ghosts. With respect, no mediums who can speak to them.
Poirot, yes, the most rational, logical detective in literature, now spends half the movie wondering if ghosts are real. Poirot, afraid of ghosts. Really.
I will not believe in such things.
We'll see.
Actually, it is an interesting controversy. You see, Kenneth Branagh is not just some no-name guy or fancy-schmancy Hollywood director willing to produce flashy commercial pictures for the sake of decent box office. Just like our beloved Ariadne Oliver, the British-American Zoe Wanamaker, Branagh made his name in the classic theatre, being one of the most faithful and loyal followers of Shakespearean traditions both in acting and directing, on stage and on screen. Critics even praised him as the heir to Laurence Olivier.
Let me introduce you to your new defense against the dark arts teacher. Me.
Apart from that, he dabbled in blockbusters too, directing Thor and Cinderella, starring in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets as the hilariously arrogant Gilderoy Lockhart, and even playing a Russian villain in Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit. So looks like he's clearly not shy of some action and drama. Looks like these particular spices were added to his Poirot creations. And still, who would argue Kenneth Branagh is a fantastic actor and director? And yet, how come it looks like he doesn't understand Poirot, like not in the slightest? Well, at very least, his films are fun spectacles, but they aren't good Poirot movies.
Hercule Poirot really has gone silent. Walled himself up into retirement. Cakes for cases.
I am much satisfied.
I tried to find the answer to this question in his interviews. I do still hope that there was something I just didn't get, and there must be some really sophisticated idea behind this particular prism he uses to reinvent Christie's detectives to our time. You must believe you can do something different and better, or, without sounding arrogant, don't bother. There is no point me being the same Hercule Poirot that, say, David Suchet would be. You have to be your own character. You have to really study Agatha Christie's words and accept that the interpretation we have seen on our screens before is only one interpretation. Don't get me wrong, it's a bloody good one, but if all you felt you were going to do was replicate what someone else had done on screen, then you really should just go home and put a film on.
I have lost my faith.
How sad for you.
Well, let me tell you here something of my own. In fact, if I just read his words in a magazine, I would immediately and totally agree. You see, I also believe in the search of some new forms and ways to express your character or your own art. Yet in this particular case, when I saw the 3 films which resulted from this search of Branagh's, I didn't find myself applauding the outcome. In fact, I was disappointed. For me personally, the extent of these transformations, particularly in the essence of Hercule Poirot's personality, didn't open him up from another interesting perspective. It simply wasn't true to the spirit of time and place and personality of this detective as proposed by Christie. Like, even if I pretend it doesn't look faithful, it feels as though he really wanted to make Sherlock Holmes films, but by the time he was approached to be Poirot in 2015, the market was saturated. His Poirot constantly feels like someone desperately pushing a waxed mustache bag into a deerstalker-shaped hole.
Even picked Venice to hide in. A gorgeous relic slowly sinking into the sea, just like your mind without a challenge.
My mind rebels at stagnation. Give me problems. Give me work.
Have you seen the rather recent Knives Out and Glass Onion movies about the mysteries solved by the detective Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig? Well, obviously there are some Christie and Poirot vibes in this character and plots too, yet since they are still so far from that epoch, the director Rian Johnson, who did also write the stories, deliberately created a new sleuth personality, which nevertheless incorporates the sometimes exaggerated and cliché traits of other famous detectives. Well, that's what I think might be a better approach for Branagh. This way, he could still concentrate on reinventing Christie and her Hercule, yet at the same time keep the necessary distance and be totally free and respectful in his expression. Something makes me think this approach would bring him more critical accolades and viewers' gratitude without compromising the financial gain, which obviously otherwise goes hand in hand with Agatha Christie's name attached to any picture. So what would be your thoughts in this case? Did you enjoy Branagh's performance of Poirot no less than that of his famous predecessors? I'd be thrilled to learn what you think of it, so see you in the comments and in my other videos. Take care, bye!
Live life somehow.
And how will you live your life?